Get ready to make a honey jar. Hi, Marie here. Welcome to Pottery Crafters. You found video number 19 in our Beginner Pottery Wheel Project series. Today you'll learn how to throw, decorate, and glaze a honey jar. And yes, you'll see the finished piece. If you like what you see, please like the video. And if you want to support me or see new videos, feel free to subscribe and hit the bell icon next to the subscribe button to get a notification whenever I upload a video. Before we get started, here's a list of tools and supplies I used to make the honey jar, which will also be down below in the show notes, along with any other important information I may talk about throughout the video. The tools and supplies listed are only recommendations and items I use on a daily basis. I'll be starting with the clay already centered, so if you have any problems with centering your clay, check out my video up above. With that said, enjoy the video and make sure you stay to the end to see the finished piece. Let's get started. For this project, I have 1 3/4 pounds of Amaco stoneware 38 white clay. Pressing down with both thumbs is a good way to start opening your clay. Then place your anchor hand on the side of the clay and use your fingers to continue opening. Stop to check the thickness of the bottom with your needle tool. 1/3 of an inch is good. Squeeze a good amount of water on your clay and pull up the walls. Don't forget to leave extra clay on the rim to make your gallery and compress the bottom to keep the S-cracks away. I found that anchoring your thumb against your other hand helps to keep the pressure of your fingers consistent as you slowly pull up the walls. Then cone in the bottom with both hands to give the jar a more defined shape. And smoothing out the jar with my sponge and red rib. Before forming the gallery, cone in the rim. To make the gallery, place your left thumb on the outside just below the ledge of the rim, your index finger on the top inside of the rim to define the gallery, your middle finger on the inside below the ledge, and your right index finger on the outside of the I'm using the metal scraper to smooth out the jar. Then, curving the red rib to gently smooth out the rest of the jar. When making the foot with the ultimate edger, I want the bottom to flare out a bit. I'm removing a bit of the clay with the wooden modeling tool and the metal scraper to define the foot a bit more. Before you set the jar aside, you must measure the gallery with your calipers or ruler right away because the gallery shrinks as it dries and your lid will not fit properly. To make the lid, I have 4 ounces of Amaco stoneware 38 white clay. Open the center about a ½ inch down. If you're struggling with centering, I have a video on problems with centering that can help. I left a link for you in the description below. Pull the clay upward first like you're making a tiny cup. Then gently push the clay downward to form a little bowl. I'm using the handheld clay extruder with the small coil die to make the beehive handle for the lid. If you get any cracks in your clay while forming the beehive, you can use water or slip to smooth out the clay. Mark the opening for your honey dipper with a wooden dotting tool. And carefully cut out the opening with your potter's knife. Then smooth out the opening with the smoothing sponge to get rid of any sharp edges. Cut out the entrance to the beehive using the smallest clay hole cutter. Score and slip the hive to the lid and set aside to dry. Then smooth out the area with the wet smoothing sponge and placing the tracing paper on the clay, making sure the pencil side is on the jar and smoothing out with the soft red rib. Then you can make a few flowers. Put a little cornstarch on the flower mold so the clay doesn't stick to the mold, and press the clay down with a roller. I'm using the cleanup tool to cut out the flowers. Place the flowers on the jar and mark the area with the cleanup tool, or you can use a needle tool. Then score them with the scoring tool and apply slip with the detail brush and gently press the flowers onto the jar. Then brush some slip around the flowers with your detail brush. After all the flowers are on, it's time to tend to the bees. Carefully peel off the tracing paper and carve out the penciled area with the smallest tip of your wooden dotting tool. Once you've carved out all the bees, use the blue rubber tip pen to smooth out the flower petals onto the jar. I'm making a 4-inch handle with the medium coil die of the clay extruder. You may also roll out a coil by hand. I happen to have another piece of clay centered to make the dipper. cone up the clay to form the shape of a dipper. Use a small triangle-shaped ribbon tool to carve out the grooves in the dipper. Then shape the dipper with the loop tool. Once the handle and dipper are leather hard, score and slip them together. Brush a little slip around the handle and the dipper and let dry. Because I won't be glazing the bottom of the honey dipper, I'm burnishing the bottom with a smooth rose quartz crystal. Burnishing polishes and compresses the clay particles together and gives you a nice smooth finish. After the lid, jar, and dipper are bone dry, into my scut kiln they are placed for a bisque fire at cone 04. After the bisque fire, they get a nice sponge bath to remove any dust particles and ensure the glaze bonds nicely to the clay. Then wax resist is applied to the rim of the lid and the bottom of the dipper and jar. After the wash and wax, it's time to underglaze. I'm applying Speedball black underglaze all over the bees, then wiping them off with a damp sponge, leaving the black underglaze in the grooves to define the bees. Make sure you mix your underglaze well before each use. Then carefully applying yellow Speedball underglaze to the center of the flowers and the bees with the fine detail brush. I'm combining Speedball yellow and orange, not mixing them completely together, to make a nice yellow and orange pattern for the beehive using the flat detail brush. Then doing the same with the honey dipper. Underglazing the handle with yellow Speedball. I'm underglazing the flower petals with Speedball light blue and turquoise using the fine detail brush. You just can't have a honey jar without bees and flowers. Using both yellow and orange underglaze, I'm brushing streaks on the jar and lid with the small Artist Soft fan brush. I'm making bee lines with black underglaze using the fine detail brush. Once the underglaze is totally dry, the lid is dipped in Amaco satin clear glaze and set aside to dry. Then pour the clear glaze in the jar and flip it upside down for a good 10 minutes so the glaze doesn't pool on the bottom. Make sure you mix your glaze well and put it through a strainer to catch any clumps or debris that may be lurking in your glaze. Then apply one coat of clear glaze on the outside with the small hack brush. Make sure you get any extra glaze out of your gallery or your lid will not fit properly. Dip the dipper in the glaze and use the medium-sized detail brush to get into the grooves. Brush the glaze on the handle and let dry. After the glaze is all dry, apply one more coat of clear glaze on the outside of the jar and the dipper with the small hack brush. Let dry, wipe off any glaze on the rim of the lid, bottom of the jar, and dipper. Then into my Scut kiln they are all placed separately for the final firing at cone 5. Here's the finished honey jar. Turned out pretty good. The honey dipper turned out great. Very happy with it. The jar is really nice. Like how the flowers turned out and the bees. Underglaze pops really good. What do you think? Feel free to post any questions, comments, or even ideas for future videos in the comments section below. Some of the best tips and feedback come from you. Also in the comments section are more show notes and pottery making info. I hope you've learned a thing or two to make your own honey jar. Check out my other videos from Pottery Crafters. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to get notified when a new video comes out. I'll see you in the next video.